Hi, it's Sally-Shakti, your visionary writing guide, and welcome to Tarot and Astrology for Visionary Writers from Monday the 11th to Sunday the 17th of September 2023. And we are now fast approaching the Libra equinox, the autumn equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere, which is happening next weekend. Before we get there, we have the new moon in Virgo on Friday this week. If you're here in England, where I am, it's happening at 2 in the morning, 2:40 a.m. And we'll be feeling that really right through from at least Thursday until Saturday, that dark moon, that sort of 3-day dark moon energy. We have, at the moment, the moon and Venus both together in the sign of Leo. If you are awake before the sunrise, you might see them rising in the morning sky together, the pre-dawn sky. What that means, I feel, or what I sense into that, is that the rebirth, the death and the rebirth that Venus has profoundly been through during her retrograde period, and now that she's direct, she's bringing forward the rising and the gifts and the realignment into new direction in our lives, in those areas that she touched upon when she went retrograde and she was conjunct the sun at the star point of 20 degrees of Leo recently. She's been in the underworld and now she is ascending. She's rising up back into our lives to bring back and integrate what she's learned from journeying through the shadows, journeying through the shadowlands, the underworld. And here she is now in the sky with the moon and Venus together for the next couple of mornings. The moon is bringing those juicy, vibrant, essential, vital lessons that Venus has learned during her time in the underworld. The moon is really bringing those back for us into more deeply into our soul's energy field, our own personal energy field. So we can begin now our process of really starting to reintegrate or starting to integrate those experiences, that experience of rebirth that Venus is moving through. That's now come into contact with our own soul's personal energy field. Venus is a personal planet anyway, so we'll be feeling that whole journey that she's been through. But now the moon comes in and brings it closer, deeper, more into our intuitive and psychic senses, more into our emotional body, more into our own personal energy field. So we'll begin to really now integrate those lessons that, or those new vibrations, the new frequencies, the new alignments that we're now going to begin moving forward with as Venus continues her journey direct, continues to rise and ascend and grow as we also evolve and expand in our consciousness in these Venus areas of our lives: self-worth, self-love, boundaries, self-protection, pleasure, play, sensuality. These areas of our lives are being deeply activated and transformed. And we might be noticing in our visionary writing and creative practice that there is perhaps more of an element of play coming in, perhaps more of an element of creative self-expression that we had been unable to find or connect with previously. Perhaps there is more pleasure, more sensuality, more embodied experience, by which I mean that physicality of touch that is so important for self-connection and sensual connection with ourselves and with others. How are we perhaps bringing that element of touch, that element of sensuality, sensual exploration into our practice? Are we working more with our hands? Are we working more with our whole bodies? Are we diving deeper into a process of somatic inquiry to bring forward that creative self-expression that has been newly lit, that fire of creative self-expression that's been newly lit by Venus's journey through the underworld, where we've encountered our shadows, and now we have new light to bring forward in our lives and in our creative practice to share with others. For myself, one of the ways this is showing up is a rekindling of my relationship with story. Prior to going back to university to do my master's and my PhD in creative writing, and I've always written, but prior to getting back into academia with writing, I spent many years performing as an oral storyteller in my local community. And one thing that I never really felt quite comfortable and complete with was story structure. I couldn't quite connect with story structure, especially linear narrative. It didn't speak to me. It didn't mean anything to me. And so my explorations in writing began to weave ways of creating new forms, which I speak about a lot in these videos, how we can create new forms that express our embodied reality and the organic visceral rhythms of our bodies and our organic world, which I'm still very, very much exploring in my own practice. That's another side of my practice that's waking up more and more, that the aspect of rewilding writing, of going out into what we might call wild nature, but so much of our nature, of our organic environment has been de-wilded, but going out into wilder places to write, to listen, to breathe with the organic rhythms of the elements, and to write with those structures, those rhythms. And as that is beginning to show me the way and bear fruit, also what's coming in is this reconnection to story, which has been kind of haunting my intuition for quite a while now. I've been knowing that I will tell stories. I've been knowing that I will reconnect with story. I've been receiving that there are stories that want to be told through me. And yet I have, in many ways, been pushing story away and been avoiding story because I haven't had a clear connection with story structure that has made sense to me in an embodied way. And as I move through my practice and I listen more and I deepen, and I'm beginning to recognize the story structures that do speak to me in an embodied way, the heroine's journey, the feminine story structure that hasn't been told enough in our culture, that hasn't been part of the narrative structure that we have been born into. But so many people now are opening up this cyclical, spiralic story structure that has so much more resonance with me in my body. and the ways that I work with the cycles of the seasons and the cycles of the moon. So you may find that elements of your practice that perhaps had been relegated to the shadows, or perhaps you had not been able to consciously connect with for some time, are beginning now to reignite and reawaken inside you as the moon brings this newly born creative fire of self-expression from Venus into very much our own personal and intuitive energy field. Listen to your intuition, listen to your body. How do your rhythms, how does your intuition want to express itself through you? And what are the forms that want to be expressed within you and through you in your practice? And as we have this momentum forward, bearing in mind that we still do have through until the end of the year, the majority of planets retrograde. But as we are in this movement forward and in this ascent out of the darkness of the underworld, we also then have the Virgo new moon and Mercury going direct, both here in Britain on Friday, the 15th of September. So that new moon is in the later degrees of Virgo, and then the sun will move on into, the moon will move on into Libra before the sun moves on into Libra next week. I want to speak a little bit about Mercury going direct, and then I will elaborate more on that new moon. So Mercury has been retrograde in Virgo, still is retrograde in Virgo until late on Friday this week, asking us to check the details, focus on the analysis, to really pay attention to the details, the description, the small print, the anything that has been coming up that has given us more information about a situation. Mercury has been asking us to focus on this. And with our creative practice, it might be that we've been in editing mode. Perhaps we've been in editing and revising mode. Perhaps we've been starting a new project, but with a lot more care and attention to detail than we normally might. Mercury begins to move forward again on Friday the 15th, and then takes a couple of weeks until the end of this month to move out of its shadow zone and continue onwards through the sign of Virgo. So we'll be gaining momentum throughout the second half of September with newfound insight into the details, the analysis, the structure, what needs to be in place in order for us to move forward. And remember the bigger picture here. When Mercury was retrograde in Taurus at the beginning of the year, Jupiter is now retrograde through the same degree points in Taurus in the second half of this year. So where Mercury has been leading us forward into new ways of self-expression, new ways of communication, new ideas coming in, Jupiter is also now moving into supporting us to begin to expand and move those projects forward, especially coming out of the other side of this year. This year might feel like the underworld. It might feel like the incubation process. We have had a lot of invitations to go within and to reassess and to not be quite sure about the way forward, moments of uncertainty or even long periods of uncertainty. That begins to take some small steps forward towards the end of this month and take some much bigger steps forward towards the end of the year or after the end of this year, when Jupiter will go direct again through those degree points in Taurus and help us get things moving. So the new moon in Virgo, this Virgo new moon is a very beautiful and powerful new moon, has that energy of new beginnings about it, whether that's something that I've been conditioned to through school and the education system and academia, maybe, but maybe I feel it. There's something energetic about this too, about the energy when the heat starts to recede and the harvest is ready and ripe, and we begin to be able to reap what we've sown earlier in the year and start to take stock and discern what we are ready to release and what we want to carry forward. Particularly, we have this kind of focal energy of motivation, which I feel in the autumn, not only in the autumn of the year, but in the autumn of my particular menstrual cycle as well. It's usually a time of real focus when I just want to get my head down and get things done, because there are things to be complete before the end of the cycle that need to be complete in order for me to fully rest and let go, to dissolve the structures of the old cycle so that I can enter into that period of death and rebirth and be ready for the next cycle to begin. And so I feel that coming with this Virgo new moon, and it's a time of that internal focus and that drive. Virgo is very driven to complete with attention to detail, to complete the project, and to have boundaries around what is worth doing and what is not worth giving our energy and attention to. Virgo is really, really focused. Virgo is the celestial priestess. She is sovereign unto herself. The understanding of the word virgin is very much misunderstood in our culture. Virgin originally means sovereign and whole unto oneself, not dependent on another, particularly not dependent on a man in the patriarchal culture. Now, the power of a woman who is not dependent on a man in patriarchal culture is incredible. And this is the power that Virgo has. This is the power of the Virgo priestess, one who is whole and sovereign unto herself, who is not dependent on others, but is motivated by her own goals and desires. And when we take that in the bigger cycle of the seasons and the year, we've moved out of Leo season, where we had this fire, this creative fire of self-expression, and we've got that energy coming back in this week with the moon and Venus being there together. The moon is helping us to integrate the new creative fire of Venus's transformation. And Virgo helps us to integrate that even more, because Virgo brings it down into the body, into the earth, and into our daily rituals and practices. Some really powerful practices that you can that you can bring in at this Virgo new moon would be to create an altar for your writing desk or your art studio. How can we cultivate more of a daily devotional practice in our visionary writing and creative process? Because when we're working at this level, when we identify as visionary writers and creatives, we know that we are constantly in a process of receiving inspiration and then needing to ground that inspiration through our own channel and to transmute and bring it back out through the vessel of our own bodies as our creative practice into new forms that can take shape in the world, that can exist in the world, and that can make change in the world. I very much see writing visionary writing and creative practice as a form of ritual, and ritual being the oldest art form of human people. The way that we make change in the physical world by working with the physical elements, earth, air, fire, and water. We bring those into the fire of transformation, or the cauldron of transformation. We transmute them and we create something new with them. But because we are working with the elements of the earth, connected with inspiration that we've channeled down or received or brought in, the elements of the earth help us to, are always connected to the earth. Anything physical that we create with, including pen and paper, is always connected to the earth. It's made of the earth. It will return to the earth. It is always part of the earth, exactly like we are in our own bodies. There is never any separation or disconnection. When we receive the inspiration of intuition and guidance and channeling in an ethical and integrated, or in an ethical way that is aligned with our integrity and aligns us with our soul's highest vision and purpose, then we can create change with those physical elements that we are working with. We can transmute the elements that we're working with, that we're creating with, into new forms, which will in turn create change in the world. Because as we transform the elements of the earth is transformed. Every atom is connected to every other atom. What we do with ourselves, what we do with the elements of the earth, what we do with our creative process and practice makes change. And that's why it's essential for visionary writers and creatives to do the inner work that leads to the outer work of creative self-expression, because then we are changing the vessel, we're changing the frequency, we're aligning our vibration, we're aligning our intuition, and then we are working with the physical elements, the magical elements. I'm thinking of the tarot card, the Magician, who works with all four elements and spirit to make change in the earth, because what we changes the whole, however big or small the impact, or however big or small the project or the change that we're making. So when we work in this way as visionary writers and creatives, apologies for the sound there. So when we work in this way as visionary writers and creatives, we make change, we create ritual through our practice. Now, for me, creative practice is ritual because of what I just described, working with the elements to make change in the web of life, the web of weird, the interconnected web that we are all part of. And so how can we then, as visionary writers and creatives, cultivate more of a daily devotional practice for our creative process? And I don't mean that daily devotional practice to get in the way of doing the creative process. Sometimes we can create so much ritual around our creative process that it's a form of procrastination. I can't write unless I'm sitting at my desk with my altar and I've lit 10 candles and I've got the incense and I'm writing with the right pen, my ritual pen. If it becomes a form of procrastination, it's not serving us or our creative process or our bigger vision or the world. But what we can do is small actions that transform our daily practice into an act of devotion or an act of ritual. For example, lighting a candle before we begin, and saying whatever prayers or dedications or calling in the support that you usually work with or that feels right to you in the moment. If we're thinking about cultivating a magical and ritual practice where we're working with the 4 elements plus spirit, then we might want to call in all 4 elements and spirit to support us in the work that we're creating. It can be very simple. I just blew it out. It can be a very simple act of making prayer, making ritual, setting an intention, and calling in the support that will. I see it as creating a circle around ourselves, a sacred circle. And the easiest way to create any sacred circle is to call in the 4 directions, the 4 elements, above, below, and spirit at the center, or spirit at the heart. This creates a protective and magical circle, a sacred space within which everything that is created has ritual and devotional impact and has the support of. I read somewhere recently that when we call in the 4 elements, we call in the entire universe. We have the entire universe at our back, working with us, working through us to support us in our goals and intentions, because everything in the entire universe is made up of the 4 elements plus spirit. So if we, not that we can ever be disconnected from those things, those energies, but when we intentionally call them in, we harness them and we bring them into focus for our project so that we can direct the energy that's created within that circle to a particular purpose or intention or outcome. So this is quite a simple way that we can begin to cultivate and develop more of a daily ritual devotional practice for our visionary writing and creative process. That's something that I really encourage you to explore and experiment with, and even ask for help if you're not sure how to bring it in with this Virgo new moon. Virgo will love to support you with creating daily rituals, especially where those are devotional and intentional. So our card for this week and for the Virgo new moon is the 2 of Cups. I think we had that recently, actually, because I remember looking at the caduceus here. Now that's very, for me, that's very potent for Virgo. Virgo, I'm sure I mentioned this recently. Virgo is now understood to be co-ruled by both Chiron and Mercury. And we have here the sign of Mercury, this caduceus, the double serpent up the spine with the wings here at the top. And that looks like a lion. Yeah, that looks like a lion to me. This is, for me, this is quite a visual representation of a breathing practice that I've been doing every morning, that at some point, somehow, I would love to start sharing with people. Maybe I'll just do that now. This breathing practice helps us to open up. Now, look, we've got chalices here. We've got the chalice of our own sacral chakra, the emotional center, the womb space, the pelvic basin, the part of ourselves energetically that holds and stores our energy, the cauldron, the chalice that we've worked with before in the pelvic basin. Rising up from that cauldron, we have the twin entwined serpents, which here culminate here at this, which forms another chalice moving up the spine, and it's winged. It's winged on the top. When our wings is the this winged caduceus is the sign of Mercury as the healer, and also as that creative channel of inspiration, that open channel. So if we think about that chalice in the sacral center, it can receive energy up from the base, up from the root, up from the earth, and it can receive wisdom coming down through the spine, the crown, the central channel. We can be open to that inspiration, and we can be grounding that inspiration and remaining connected to our own source, the infinite source of energy and abundance. We've got the wings here, and we've got the lion's head in the center. And that lion's head for me is the crowning sovereignty. Now, I mentioned that Virgo is the sovereign, and she's a sovereign priestess and whole unto herself. How do we crown ourselves with our own sovereignty? In fact, I was breathing and journaling with this morning. Is in this country, we have a king and a royal family. And it just came so clear to me this morning that every single one of us wears the crown. When we step into our own energetic sovereignty, we have our own crown. We can crown ourselves with gold, with golden light, with life force. This is, for me, the true meaning of sovereignty. Not one person, probably male, probably white, who is the sovereign Lord over all, but each of us in our own grace and sovereignty, each of us in our own self-empowerment has the potential to crown ourselves energetically and to step into our own sovereign autonomy. So I'm not going to try and go any further into Two of Cups symbolism. Am I? No, I want to really just stick with this this symbolism here of the chalice and the caduceus, because that that leads me into a breath that we can practice for the Virgo new moon. And I'm going to just do a very, very short and relatively simple talk you through this breath practice. Okay, so finding yourself in a comfortable position with your feet flat on the floor. Your sit bones supported. Noticing your connection into the belly of the earth, the support that rises up from the earth, physically, energetically. Feeling your spine lengthening, elongating, all the way up through the neck and the crown of your head, shoulders wide, chest open, belly relaxed. And as you inhale, drawing up energy in the form of light from the center of the earth, the belly of the earth, the belly of the mother, that infinite source of nourishment, to which we're all connected all the time. But when we intentionally direct our awareness there, we open and activate that channel. So breathing energy up through from the earth all the way through your roots, into the soles of your feet, up your legs, and into the base of your spine. With every inhale, drawing that energy up. And as you exhale, you can gently release anything that is no longer yours, anything that no longer serves, anything that this dark moon phase can help you to release, because it's not part of your onward journey. It's not necessary for your rebirth. We're continuing this breath for a moment, drawing light and energy up from the center of the earth, feeling that sense of support and anchoring, and releasing down anything that you are ready to let go, that you are ready to let die, as you enter into this period of dark moon and rebirth. As you continue to draw energy up from the belly of the earth into the base of your spine, now start to notice the chalice in your pelvis. This is the container for that energy that you're drawing in. The chalice holds that liquid light and stores it like a pool in your pelvis. So with every inhale, drawing that light up and in. And with every exhale, notice the chalice full and expanding. So the chalice is always full and the chalice is always expanding. It is never empty and it never spills out. It's got clear boundaries. It's a firm container to hold your energy and your light. And yet with every breath, it is expanding. The more you fill your cup, the more your cup grows. Breathing that light and energy up from the center of the earth. And with your out breath, expanding the vessel. The next part of this breath requires some visualization. And if the visualization doesn't come through to you, just go with what you feel. So we're breathing up the light and energy from the center of the earth into the base of our spine. With the exhale, we're expanding the vessel. And now we're going to change that focus slightly. So we're still breathing energy up and in from the center of the earth. And as we exhale, begin to send that energy up the spine in two entwining streams, like the entwining serpents on the caduceus. So your spine is the central channel, and you have twin entwined serpents, like two streams moving up from the base of your spine to the crown of your head. You can imagine them as golden in color, or perhaps another color or colors come to you. So breathing that light and energy in and up from the base of the earth. And then sending it up your spine, the two serpents entwined. Now, as you are continuing with this breath, notice that as the serpents reach the height of your brow, your third eye, their wings open up and they create this upper chalice. So we're breathing the energy all the way in from the center of the earth up to the base of the spine. And as we exhale, the golden serpents rise up and open their wings at your third eye. A few breaths like this. Taking your awareness to your solar plexus, notice a ball of fire forming in the solar plexus. And with your exhalation, that ball of fire travels up to crown your head. So it's moving up from the solar plexus, and then it sits above that chalice that's been formed by the twin serpents to crown you in your own sovereignty, fully connected with the earth, fully connected with the elements, fully connected with your own soul's highest vision. You are your own sovereign being, whole unto yourself, and you wear your own crown as a mark of your sovereignty. Allowing your breath to deepen, bringing your awareness back to the base of your spine, feeling your connection with the earth, that you are rooted in to that energy source at the center of the earth, and that every exhale fills and expands your cup. These are the three symbols of sovereignty: the chalice, the caduceus, or what has been called the scepter, and the crown. And you now wear them for yourself, not to expend power over others, but to be fully embodied in your own sovereign power and creativity. Your ability to make change in this world through working with the four elements and spirit at your center, your heart. Fully empowered, fully rebirth, fully yourself. Taking your awareness back to your feet, bringing in some deeper breath and some movement into your body. Perhaps some touch, allowing your skin to become your boundary once more, the boundary of yourself. Just giving yourself a moment to integrate. Well, I didn't expect to be sharing that practice in its fullness today. I have been journaling a lot about how I can share more of myself and my practices through the work that I'm creating. And I did create a circle and light the candle and set intentions before I started this video. So within this sacred space, a ceremony has been created. And I'm grateful to you for being part of it and for standing in your own self-worth as you move forward in your own creative practice and journey. So as we come to the Virgo new moon, you may want to make some inquiries in your journaling practice about how you can ground and cultivate a daily devotional practice for your creative process, and how that can embody your own creative self-expression and self-worth, self-value, and self-love. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for being part of this very special new moon Two of Cups ritual and ceremony. Check the comments below for ways that we can work together, or visit my website. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Lots of love.